SeatGeek is the easiest way to find the best deals on tickets to pretty much any live event. Concerts, sports, theater, comedy, whatever you want. Download the SeatGeek app today and enter promo code SEATS to save $20 on your first purchase.
Welcome back to the Sports Beat KC podcast. This is Jesse Newell, KU beat reporter for the Kansas City Star. I'm joined once again this week by CJ Moore. CJ, how you doing this week?
Jesse, doing well, man. Excited to actually be able to talk about some actual basketball on the court. So let's go.
Yeah,
Border war.
And I didn't even say it. I should say CJ Moore of The Athletic, now contributing there. I've seen a couple articles from you lately, so people can check out your work there, and I'm sure that's kind of an exciting thing for you to be able to help out and contribute there.
Yeah, it's good to be writing again and have a place to put my words. So hopefully you'll see a lot more of me there this year. We'll see.
Yeah, the people that know you and have listened to this podcast know you have plenty of words. You are never shy with words or cockiness or being arrogant or anything like that. So yeah, it's great. It's great that somebody's.
Thanks for that great endorsement, Jesse.
No problem. Yeah, well, listen, I'm not telling you anything you don't know. I'm just being honest here. We're being real. We're keeping it real. So no, it's great. And for those who haven't checked it out yet, CJ has talked on this game, the 93-87 victory for KU basketball versus Missouri. He has an article up about why this game should continue. But let's talk about the actual game before we get to that, and I figured this would be a nice recap about this game that normally doesn't happen. You don't normally have these exhibition games where you learn a lot about the teams and see two teams competing very hard and going after each other, and that's kind of what this turned into. And I think for those people there, it was not a letdown. I think it kind of lived up to what it was being billed as.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, it's brilliant because you get to have a lot of programs do these secret scrimmages this time of year instead of doing an exhibition game like against D2 teams like KU does, because playing another D1 team, quality D1 team, can tell you a lot more about your team than going up against a D2 can. So KU got to do this without sacrificing one of their exhibition games and through basically a loophole and getting this waiver through the NCAA. So I'm of the belief you should try to do it every year. Come up with some kind of charity that you can donate to every season and go play Missouri or whoever else and do this every season. If I'm Bill Self, I'm trying to do this every year because he learned a lot more about his team and Missouri learned a lot more about its team than they could have learned doing anything else on a Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And who knows, maybe they'll change the rules. Maybe this can be just one of your two exhibitions. I don't know. I mean, looking forward, but the only downside of this possibly could have been injury or guys really trying hard. And if you'd had one season-ending injury because a guy dove into the stands for a ball in a game that doesn't mean anything in October, then that would be a bad thing. And if something like that comes out, then maybe you have a different conversation. But that's not what happened with this game. Nobody got hurt, at least that we know of, and everybody was out there competing and playing hard, and the fans were into it. So I guess let's just start with that, CJ. What were your main takeaways, just basketball-wise? Let's just talk basketball, mostly for Kansas. Obviously, this is a KU podcast, but maybe at the end just tack on one about Missouri too, kind of what you saw from both teams.
Yeah, we'll just kind of start with the first half, if that's all right. I thought early on, obviously Devontae Graham was really impressive. His shot making was awesome, and he kept Kansas in the game. I thought Udoka Azubuike had a really rough first half. And one thing that Missouri did well early on was they forced him, when he did catch it, to catch it a little farther from the bucket and make sure somebody's in between him when he caught it. And I thought he struggled doing actual post moves and having to score over somebody. And then there were a few times where he just had bodies all around him and he kind of struggled scoring at the rim in that first half. And it was really a bad half for him. And part of the reason I think KU struggled a little bit because of that. So I thought the second half, they did a much better job of getting him touches where he had angles. He did a better job of creating angles, and they did a better job of getting him the ball where he could just basically turn and score. And that's kind of what he needs to do. Now, he did have a really, really nice sweeping hook in the lane. But for Udoka, I thought first half, not great. You were kind of worried about how he looked. But second half, turned it around. That's how he has to play. And then, some other guys, I thought Malik Newman, obviously wasn't much of a factor in the first half. Turned it on in the second half. His jump shot off the bounce, that release is about as Devontae Graham's is really good as well, but his jump shot off the bounce, the release is so quick.
They have two guys that can do that, and again,
yeah.
you usually don't have one. I mean, it's crazy. And even we've talked about Svi before. Svi's pretty good shooting off the dribble as well. KU has that weird skill set that not many teams have. I'm sure we'll be writing about it this year.
Yeah, so that helped for him, and that's why he's going to be able to score the ball. He did kind of, I thought he struggles a little bit, and I think he struggled in the past getting to the rim, and that's something I wrote about last week. I worry about this team getting easy buckets without having a Josh Jackson and a Frank Mason who could just go and beat their man off the dribble and get to the bucket. Even Devontae, while he showed a little bit more of that yesterday and can do that, I thought late in the game, one reason why they struggled late in clock is because they would just go spread the floor for him, and he was settling for jumpers. He wasn't getting to the rim, where Frank Mason always got paint touches then, right? So I think that's one area where he just has to continue to work on trying to get to the paint, not necessarily, while he's pretty awesome at settling for those jumpers, like he makes a decent amount of them. Like I think he needs to figure out a way to kind of get to the rim, and Newman too. I think that's probably the biggest deficiency in his game right now, is being able to have the explosion to get by guys and finish at the basket. But I would say the total opposite of Malik Newman is LaGerald Vick, and I thought he looked really explosive and looked really good at getting to the rim. I think his jump shot and his release on his jumper is a little slow. And what did he shoot from three last year, Jesse? Like 37, 38%?
I can look it up real quick, but it's somewhere around 38, I think.
Yeah, you should take that in a second again if he can repeat that. I think that number might go down for him a little bit. I didn't think his jumper looked great yesterday, and I've never really been sold on it. So, that's maybe one concern, that maybe his 3-point shot kind of regresses towards the mean a little bit this season, but he's that one guy that can go off the bounce, and they even had him bring the ball up a little bit a few times. So that was encouraging to see him be able to handle it and get to the rim, because he is that one quick twitch guy that they have that can get to the basket. You want me to just keep going down the line here on players? Any thoughts from you?
No, keep going. Actually, it was 37% for LaGerald last year.
Yeah, so if he can shoot that again, you take that in a heartbeat. But the other guy that I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot this season, Billy Preston. I came away from the game thinking he had a few nice moments. There's still some concerns there with just Bill Self trying to kind of convince him to play the way he wants him. I kind of watched early on. I think he took first possession he takes a pick and pop jumper. Second possession, he shoots a jump hook where you kind of want to see him go. He got fouled, but you kind of want to see him be a little more aggressive, getting to getting his shoulders to the basket more. He kind of settled for a jump hook out there. I thought kind of got bailed out a little bit, but had some nice moments. You see the ability there. It's going to be a big storyline with how he plays, and then jumping off that, I think my biggest concern for this team is the fact that they just really, really struggle to rebound.
We knew this was coming, CJ. I mean, we all know this is coming.
Yeah, but I mean, they only lose the rebound battle by 4, which I don't really think tells the story. I mean, I thought Missouri controlled the glass, and I thought that was a struggle for Kansas. And obviously they're going to play small a lot, and LaGerald Vick's not Josh Jackson, so that's a struggle. And Missouri is a big team, and so maybe it was magnified because Missouri's got a lot of size and a lot of really good athletes up front. But I think that's going to be a huge concern. And you can't have Graham as your leading rebounder, like that's ridiculous. And I think one area where it hurts KU when they go small like they do is because Vic and Svi can't necessarily handle a big guy in the post. You've got to do some things where you double and you help. And I thought KU was pretty poor in the first half in its rotations and was maybe overhelping in different spots and letting guys get open for three. And that's part of the reason Missouri shot so well in the first half, is because they were getting clean looks, because KU's just rotations and getting out to shooters was not very good. Now, the way this team has to play is they have to be really, really scrappy and really active. And it's on the defensive end, and it's difficult to do that when you're only playing like 6 or 7 guys. And, so that takes a lot of energy, but I thought the second half they did better at that. Like they were helping over the top. They had active hands. They were a little more scrappy. And I think that's why Missouri, struggled more offensively in the second half. And I also thought KU's just experience in the fact of being able to maintain a high level of intensity for a little bit longer. I thought both teams got tired at times, but I thought KU was able to kind of find another wind better than Missouri did in the second half. I think that was a big part of why Kansas was able to pull it out in the second half. So those are kind of my big takeaways. Also, Marcus Garrett. I sat next to our friend of the podcast, Eric Bossi, and he's a guy that's seen Marcus Garrett a lot, likes him a lot, and compared him to a Travis Relaford. He said like a Travis Relaford with more ball skills. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I think Garrett's going to do a lot of little small things that like coaches appreciate. I think he can really defend. He had an offensive rebound where he just kind of snuck in there one time that stood out to me. He really struggles with I don't know. It's not fair to say he really struggles with his jumper because I've only watched one game, but I was watching him in pregame. His jump shot has kind of a low release. It doesn't look great yet, but that's something, maybe like Relaford, he'll develop down the line. And he's a better handler than Relaford, but kind of like Travis, defends, does little things. And I think he's going to play a lot and, have a good role for this team. So it was encouraging to see. They almost need they need like the Marcus Garrett version of a big man to add to this rotation.
Yeah. So Jack Whitman, someone like that. Let's get back to the offensive rebounding really quick, because if we're going to be the analytically minded podcast, let's talk about the numbers a little bit here. Missouri had 19 offensive rebounds, and
he had 27 defensive.
So 19 out of 46, and so that's 41%. So that would have been somewhere around the second to fourth worst mark for KU defensive rebounding wise if it happened a season ago. Now, you mentioned the caveats pretty well. Like Missouri, KU's not going to face many bigger teams than Missouri. I mean, they've got a front line. Porter's going to be able to play the three, which is pretty amazing at 6'10". I think a lot of lineups he would kind of be forced into a small ball role. They can play big next to him because of the size that they brought in this year. And so I thought Tillman looked pretty good on the big side or inside and kind of as a true center. But yeah, for KU, that's a huge concern. And it kind of goes back to, again, when we talked about Bill Self wanting to play big 50% of the time, or earlier on wanting to play big 70% of the time. I mean, it just doesn't add up. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. It doesn't add up. KU can't play big that much. Look, KU had no foul troubles yesterday. And I know it's early in the season. I know conditioning is still getting there. But even then, KU didn't play half the time big. You know what I mean? So that's going to be the big concern for this team. But, again, for Bill Self, it might just be a matter of, hey, figure out that KU can be really, really, really good offensively and present a lot of problems when you have either LaGerald Vick or Stu Mikhailuk driving against a true four on the other end. And that on the defensive end, you're just going to have to grin and bear it a little bit more, because it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to get rebounds, especially when Udoka Azubuike's out of the game.
Yeah, and Svi is one guy I didn't hit on. Probably, that was maybe on purpose. It was a rough day for him. I thought he looked a little slow, and that was kind of discouraging, because you heard, that he's lost the weight, and everybody at KU says he looks a little quicker. Maybe it was just a bad day for him. But, in Missouri, they've got some athletes. So I thought he looked a little slow, and it was just a kind of a bad all around, he didn't have a great day. Only one turnover, so that's good. But that's and 2 steals. So hey, two good marks on his stat line. But I just didn't think he was much of a factor. He's got to be a guy that hits shots for them, and he's 0 of 2 from 3. So rough day for him. But again, it's a practice game in October. It's a fake
exhibition game, yeah.
It's a fake exhibition game. So you don't want to go too hard on guys, but there were definitely some encouraging things, but there's definitely some like deficiencies and it's nice because Bill Self can be like, see, I told you guys that we struggle rebound, and you guys have to gang rebound. You guys have to be really active on the defensive end, or look, we were losing Missouri when we weren't. So, it's great for him because now he can focus on those things in practice, and they can't be like, oh, why have we spent the last hour working on rebounding? Like, well, there's a reason. Look at, you guys got your butts whipped on the glass. So, those are two things that hopefully, they can improve on. But yeah, it's something that I'm sure he's going to be hitting home this week.
Yeah, I kind of wrote about this before it happened when they're facing Michael Porter Jr., and it's just, again, if nobody gets hurt, it's all positives for Bill Self to play this game. And again, I know they're raising money for charity, and that's the most important part of all those things, but basketball-wise, this is perfect. I mean, now Bill Self has a whole week before a new exhibition game, and he can harp on exactly those things you talked about. And listen, Bill Self is super smart when it comes to motivating his guys, and he knows these things he's going to harp on. Those are things that are vital to him as a basketball coach too, like you talked about, defensive rebounding, or like you said, rotations and help defense. And I mean, you can go down the list. I mean, this is going to be great tape for him for the next week. And again, then you can fine-tune things against whoever they're playing this year. Is it Pitt State and Fort Hays State? I can't remember the two D2 opponents. But again, you're not going to learn as much from those games as KU learned in this game against Missouri. So now he's got another couple weeks to get after them. And again, a master motivator that he is, he can pick out those certain things and push guys on those certain things and make them better in those certain things. And again, do all that before the season starts, and especially before that early game in the Champions Classic where KU is tested every single year.
Yeah, I would have loved to have sat in on the halftime talk last night.
It was fun. Bill Self gave a little glimpse of it because he was saying, Udoka, did you have fun in the first half? And it's like, at that moment you knew Udoka got his butt chewed at halftime because he wasn't rebounding and wasn't playing like a big man.
Yeah, and I went on a limb and did this exhibition thing, and you guys are gonna come out here and embarrass me. I'm guessing there was something like that talking in the halftime locker room. So it was fun. It was fun to see those teams get after it, and that I thought both teams played at a pretty high level considering they don't have a ton in yet. Like Self said, they weren't gonna make super big adjustments, like they weren't going to go to a zone or something like that. Neither team was. I thought both teams played at a pretty high level for considering that we're in mid to late October. So kudos to both programs for being where they are right now, because everybody in America has some kind of deficiency at some point now. It's going to be a big storyline all year whether they can get those kinds of things corrected, but Self has a pretty good track record for figuring these things out.
Let's be honest, too. I mean, KU has a bit of an advantage in this regard. I mean, KU got to play in Italy. It got the 10 extra practices with that. If we're being honest, early in the second half when KU needed a bucket, they called some set plays. You know what I mean? Like, KU was not completely playing playground ball here. Like, some of those open baskets for Udoka Azubuike, again, they drill that in practice. They drill to get angles and, get the guy up the lane and throw the ball corner to the backboard, all those sorts of things. But, like, some of those were set plays. Like, those were things that you'll see from Kansas in a month, 2 months. Most of the first half was just the 4-game, like the basic set where they run the weave, dribble, handoff, that sort of thing. But, there were times KU was going to things that it had implemented. So, again, impressive to me from Missouri. I know that they kind of lost contact there, midway through the second half, able to kind of get a little bit closer late. But the first half was a really good half for Missouri. And, again, I'm impressed by a lot of their players. And I will only stay on this point very briefly, CJ, because I can just – it has to be a little bit painful in the back of KU fans' minds that just to think about where Missouri and where it was a year ago and to think, okay, you hire a new coach, you get 3 or 4 really top-level recruits, and all of a sudden you're basically playing toe-to-toe with Kansas at Sprint Center. I mean, the turnaround took 6 months. You know what I'm saying? Or took 8 months or whatever.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
And in college football – it is just. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, it could not be more different. Like KU.
The numbers just are different.
That's exactly. Like you get a stud coach or even a stud recruit or two, and it doesn't matter that much. Like you got to put 22 stud guys in there, and then you have injuries, so you need another 11. And so it shows.
But look at what Iowa State's doing. So you can do it a little quicker than. What's happening?
And again, I'm keeping the comments brief here. This is not a defense of what I've seen from KU football or what KU football has put out on the field so far this year. All I'm saying is that it's amazing in college basketball when you put 5 guys on the court, how much difference a Michael Porter Jr. makes, how much difference a Tillman can make inside, and like that's 40% of the guys you got to play for most of the game. You know what I mean? So again, kudos to Missouri. They pulled the plug on Kim Anderson. They got a new coach in. They got these recruits. It's going to be turned around in a hurry there. It just has to be tough for KU fans to watch that and think, my God, it's been an 8 or 9 year stretch for football that you try to do these things to get it turned around. It's just so difficult to turn when in basketball it's just so much easier.
Yeah, no, you're right. They've done a smart job of not just bringing in freshmen, but like the grad transfer kid, he's going to have a big impact on them this year, and that's why it's kind of disappointing. Like Kansas needed to go out and find a grad transfer big man, and they went out and they thought got one, and that then he didn't last long. So that's the one piece that I really think this team's really going to miss is like having that extra big that can eat up some minutes. I thought Lightfoot played fine, and I thought he did some okay things, but he's just not quite big enough to rebound at a high level. Maybe, I don't know. It's too early to say, but that's what he's got to focus on. He's got to focus. You got to go get rebounds. I mean, he is an active athlete. Maybe he can become a better rebound. Be kind of Kevin Young usually rebounded pretty well, and maybe a similar frame. He's even thinner than Lightfoot. So he's got to figure out a way to really, really rebound because that's what they need from him. And but I did think he looked fine yesterday. I think he looked a little bit improved, so that was good.
Definitely better than Italy. And again, this is exactly what you're talking about. Like he's going to have to play the 5 for Kansas some this year. I mean, that's a reality.
Yeah, I don't maybe a little bit. I don't think they'll go to that a lot. I think Preston will mostly get those backup 5 minutes.
No. I agree with you, but like there's going to be foul trouble. There's going to be a guy who's tired. I mean, like there's times that's
going to happen.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's where you see Missouri get 19 offensive rebounds. Is sometimes in a rotation, Mitch Lightfoot's going to be the 5 for Kansas, and there's just no other options. So that's again, I was talking about this with Blair Kirchhoff, colleague and great all-around guy on the Facebook Live after the game, just basically saying that there's been times where KU's third big man on the bench has been an NBA player. Now there's only 3 big men on the roster.
Jeff Withey couldn't even get on the floor?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is so crazy. I mean, it's so nuts that this year for KU it's going to be so different that no, there's not a third big man on the bench that's going to be in the NBA. There's 3 big men on the roster. So we'll see how that turns out for Kansas. I asked for some questions, so let's go quickly through these and just get some quick responses to these to talk about what you guys want to talk about in here. From TD Derry on there, he's talking about a topic that a couple people asked about, which is Svi struggled yesterday. Every year we have high expectations for him, and he falls short. Is it time for the fan base to realize he's just a guy? And I'm asking this of the guy who came up with the nickname Svizis. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, as much as it pains me to say this, I don't think Svi's an NBA player, but he is a nice program player, and I think he's going to have a solid year. I don't think yesterday was maybe, a glimpse into what he's going to be this year. I think he's going to do better, but he needs to make shots to have a lot of value. And yesterday he didn't have a lot of looks, and he didn't make the couple looks he got. So, he's not going to be maybe what expectations were when he came in, but he's still, you have to have those 3-4 year program guys that know how to play, know the system, don't make mistakes. Those guys are really, really valuable. So while he's not, maybe what you dreamed he could be, he's still a valuable piece, and so can't hate on the guy too much. But yesterday was a rough game for him, and honestly it was a rough half a game for Azubuike who turned around. Some other guys had some rough stretches too, but yeah, definitely Svi there. You didn't see a lot out of him yesterday.
Wow, mark this day down. This is the day where I was higher on Svi than CJ Moore, who came up with the name Svizis. Yeah, no, I have to just say he's going to be better than this. And again, I saw in Italy that he was better than this, and this was a game 2 weeks ago that did not exist. So, like, I can't you mentioned this before, and again, with everyone we should do this. Like, this is a great game film for Bill Self. It'll be great for him for a teaching tape. But, like, let's not go crazy here. I mean, it was one game. Now, what I think would be most disturbing for this is, and you mentioned this earlier in your comments, Svi looked fast in Italy, and he didn't look fast yesterday. And Svi obviously the word we always use with him is aggressiveness and confidence. I mean, we repeat those words over and over, and it's like, okay, he was in Italy playing in front of 400 people and just looked like the most confident player in the world. And then you put him in front of 19,000 people, and he looked like the old Svi, where he just kind of wasn't himself. Sure. And so, again, sure. Am I making too much of one exhibition game on October 22nd? Yes. But that, to me, is the concern. The concern is, can he bring the 400 attendance Svi and play like that in front of 19,000? Or is just his personality not allowing him to do that? And so, again, that might be going too Dr. Phil on everyone here. I'm sure it is. But
like look at Devontae Graham and the swag he came out with.
Exactly.
And fourth-year guy.
And so much of it is optics. Again, so much of it is just like if Svi just took one to the rim and decided he was going to dunk it, and he got fouled and got knocked to the ground, but just to look like, I don't care that you're big. I don't care it's Missouri. I don't care it's a sprint center. But, again, that's just not his nature. It's a little bit more Perry Ellis-like. It's a little bit more mild-mannered. And, again, Perry played great, so I don't want to hold things against people. But, again, I saw a different Svi a month ago, and I think I can see that Svi again. It just did not show up in front of a big crowd, and a lot of times it hasn't shown up in front of a big crowd. So that's the big concern you have, but I think he's better than this. I think he will show better than this, and I think that it will be better. Again, he has lost the weight. He did look better in Italy. I saw it with my own eyes. It's not an illusion, so I think there's better days for him to come.
All right.
Let's go. CJ Krug, just an observation, saw Garrett guard MPJ and then Puryear pretty well. Self already showing confidence in freshman and challenging him. I agree with that to an extent. I also think MPJ, Michael Porter Jr., is a tough guy to guard. Like, do you guard him with a big man? Do you guard him with a wing? Yeah. I mean, KU is kind of trying to do both of those, and he'll post you up if you're too small, and he'll drive by you if you're too big. So Marcus Garrett's actually kind of a nice fit to defend him because he kind of shares some of those qualities that we talked about, how he could be a small ball forward defender. But I think this also goes back to what we discussed, CJ, which is Bill Self has no other options. I mean, it's basically Marcus Garrett or Chris Tian, so he's going to put in Marcus Garrett when you have an 8-man rotation. Yeah,
I also think he's going to be – I think he'll end up beating out Sam Cunliffe too once he's eligible. I think he's an important piece for this year, and everything I've heard from what their practices have looked like, that he has really, really, really been a good defender in practice and really shown them a lot there too. So I've heard pretty glowing reports about Marcus Garrett. And he's that guy that I just have had a feeling about that he's in that range where they always end up better than you think they're going to be. So I think he's going to be a really, really nice program player for Kansas for a long time. He's going to be a guy fans like, Travis Rutherford type, maybe just the timelines, he's ready to contribute Travis probably would have been ready to contribute too if the numbers weren't stacked against him back in the day.
Yeah.
The numbers aren't stacked against Marcus. He's going to have an opportunity. And I think he's going to be a guy that really is valuable for them this year.
Different position, different type of player, but I mean, early on, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Devontae Graham. I mean, they were recruited about in the same range. I mean, not too great, but I mean, kind of slipped, under the radar sort of guy for KU, top 50-ish. And then, if you remember, Devontae Graham stepped in, played right away, and then kind of developed with the program. You kind of could maybe see a same sort of path for Marcus Garrett again. He'll play a different role for Kansas. You'll never see Devontae Graham playing small ball 4 or doing some of the athletic things. But I think that Marcus Garrett, as you mentioned, getting steals, being very active with his hands, sliding well defensively, all those things I think are things that he can bring to the table. From Joe Hell M. Bleed, a little bit of an October 31st Halloween reference there. I think it's actually Kebbo 9 if I look it up real quick here. It's Kebbo 9. Wilf, KU see a bunch of Hackadoke and Lightfoot this year since they shot a combined 13.49 from free throw last year.
13 of 41.
I'm sorry, 13 of 41, so 32%. Could, but again, KU with its limited rotation, I don't know that there's many options. And late in games, KU's going to have to get defensive rebounds, and you want Udoka in there to do that.
But if you notice yesterday, Self pulled Udoka late when that could have been that scenario.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Very interesting.
Yeah, he pulled him and put Preston at the 5.
If you need any indication that Bill Self wanted to win the game too, he's pulling his worst free throw shooters late in the game.
Yeah, no, I think you could see some Hackadoke for sure. I don't know that Lightfoot will be in those scenarios, and I think Lightfoot's probably a better free throw shooter than he showed last year. he actually can shoot the ball, right? Like he's got a little bit of a 3-point shot. So I think his free throws percentage, I'm sure, will go up as he gets more confidence and gets more comfortable. But I mean, Doak, there's definitely there's some holes there in that stroke. So yeah, you could obviously see that, maybe for the first time, kind of see some of that since KU had Sasha Khan. Definitely saw some of that when Sasha Khan was around. That Texas A&M loss, if you remember, was they went to the hack of Sasha. So yeah, I bet you see some hack of Doak, but I'm sure Self will adjust and just put Preston in there at the 5.
That does make it tough though. Like again, defensive rebounding late in games is pretty important, and so
well, you can, with timeouts, you can kind of go back and forth with them, but yeah, it's not easy.
You're right. Okay, let's see. Let's go to Let Maltby Ball. Man, and they're making it tough on me today.
Man. I'm glad you have this role where you gotta.
I'm just gonna say Lala or something next time. He says Billy Preston and what he showed in that exhibition with aggressiveness and confidence. Is he going under the radar for the rest of the country? Thoughts, CJ?
I mean, I kind of hit on how I feel about him. I don't know about under the radar. I mean, obviously, I don't think he's a guy that's being talked about a lot, but I think he is. I don't see him as like a one and done type, although the talent's there, definitely there, and he's got ability. It's going to be like we've talked about. It's going to be a give and take between him and Bill Self, and I wrote about this some last week. Like Self told him. I forget what the exact percentage was, but like you can play outside like 60% of the time if you're playing inside 40% of the time or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's a guy who definitely is more comfortable facing up, but he went to the rim a couple times strong, and that was encouraging. And he shoots 4 or 5 from the field. I mean, if you can get 12 points, 4 rebounds out of him every night in 15 minutes, like I think he'll end up playing more than 15 minutes most games, but yeah, it was a solid showing for him. There were some things you want to see better, but you're going to want to see some better things out of but just about any freshman. I mean, there's some things Michael Porter, I'm sure today is saying. Yesterday he was saying too that he could have done better too. So, he is still a freshman, but flying under the radar, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's also difficult for KU. I wrote about this a week ago. Just freshman big men that are that highly ranked under Bill Self, it's just, it's tough to bank on. He doesn't normally pencil guys in like that for 32 minutes a game. I mean, that's all I'm going to say. Like you've seen the Sheck Diallo, the Cliff Alexander. Those
were kind of awkward situations though because of the NCAA stuff. I guess Alexander didn't have that early on.
No, but what I'm saying is the number one guy that has gotten minutes, I think it was since 2009 for Bill Self as a big man, was Joel Embiid. He averaged like 24 minutes a game or 23 minutes a game, and that guy might be one of the top 5 players on the planet now. You know what I mean? So,
yeah. And Marcus played quite a bit his freshman year.
Okay, yeah, well, and that team desperately needed him, so maybe
that's kind of a similar.
Maybe that's a better comp.
Though.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, just recency bias with this. It makes you wonder how many minutes he's going to play, but I think he'll have a big role, and I think everybody around here knows he's going to have a big role. It's just kind of be adjusting to how Bill Self wants him to play, and again, like you said, making aggressive plays inside, not settling for jump shots, going to the rim, getting fouled, getting rebounds with 2 hands, all those sorts of things. Getting defensive rebounds. He got beat by, I think it was Michael Porter Jr. on one offensive rebound and then immediately sat. Those sorts of things. So all that getting through to him will be a very important factor for this year. Well, let's wrap it up with Ryan Schneider, and he kind of hinted at this, what we're talking about with Billy Preston, but given it's essentially a new front court, what's reasonable and realistic expectations for that group? So you just want to go, I mean, it's not going to take us very long, CJ. We just talked about one of them. There's 2 left. So you want to go over reasonable expectations for Udoka and Mitch Lightfoot?
Yeah, I think Udoka averages around like 12, 13 points a game, and obviously needs to rebound better than 4 boards. But I think he's going to have a good, solid season, and I think the way he played in the second half is what they want to show him and be like, this is how we need you, and show it to the guards too. This is the spots where we get him the ball. He's not going to be a guy you want to throw it to from about 12 feet away and make him go make a a post move. I think he needs to be smart in when he passes it out and smart in when he's aggressive and goes at guys. So I thought he was much better with that in the second half. And the 4 blocks is encouraging too, because this group obviously needs some rim protection. And, his block rate last year, I think I had this in my story last week. If he would have qualified, it would have been like 3rd or 4th nationally. Now that was coming against some kind of crummy competition because it was the non-conference.
But you could still project top 30 or so with that.
Yeah. If he's going to be a guy that, that's one thing they kind of lacked last year, because as much as I love Landon Lucas and as valuable a defender as I think he was, he wasn't the great shot blocker.
No.
And with this group where they are so small, they're going to funnel some guys in there. You want him to block some shots, and it's encouraging that he got the 4 blocks, and it's encouraging that he only had 2 fouls. So some good things from him. I think he's going to be a guy that has to play 25 to 30 minutes a game for sure. And then Lightfoot, you just want him stealing like 12 minutes out of him. Like that's you're happy with that. About 10 to 12 minutes a game. Go out there, get some rebounds, get easy buckets when they're there, and just play with energy. I think that's kind of the expectation for him.
The funny thing is, I felt like Mitch played a lot in yesterday's game, and he played 12 minutes. Yeah, so it's like, I mean, it's like, again, I agree with you on the Mitch Lightfoot thing. It's just that he needs different roles, but he needs the Landon Lucas mindset. Just I will set screens, sure. I will take charges, I will stay between my man and the basket, I will pass the ball when I get in the post immediately and go set a ball. I mean, I will just be Mr. Role Player, Mr. Small Things for Kansas, and I will try to get out of my own way, basically in every other way, to try to just steal minutes for Kansas. And again, like Landon Lucas, I mean, he can develop some things over time, and this probably isn't the conversation we're having with him by his junior or his senior season, but for right now, I mean, again, I think Bill Self would be happy with what Mitch Lightfoot gave yesterday. Just be solid, just be reliable in there when you need minutes from him, and again, for the most part, that's what he was able to do against
just
Missouri.
Rebound better.
Just rebound better. Again, like you said, maybe a little bit of a combination of Kevin Young and Landon Lucas, just because Landon Lucas is a great rebounder, but Kevin Young was the springy rebounder, and that's kind of what KU needs Mitch Lightfoot to be. I think we're going to wrap it up there. CJ, any final comments before we get out of here and stop discussing the game that might not ever happen again?
Yeah. Well, hey, man, I wrote about it on The Athletic. I think there's reasons to why Bill Self said afterwards that if it makes sense for Kansas, they would play the game. So I kind of laid out some reasons why it makes sense for Kansas. Go give it a look. Before, I know there's a lot of Kansas fans who are pretty adamant about not playing them. I think if they were honest with themselves, that they would be okay with it, and they would actually enjoy it, because it's fun. Look at yesterday. How anybody who was there yesterday and says they don't want to see that again, I think in a way is lying to themselves, because that was fun, right, Jesse?
It was absolutely fun, and I liked the angle that you took with it. I won't give it away, but the angle you took with it, why KU should play Missouri, is something I haven't seen from other places, and makes, instead of more the emotional argument, it's more of a logistical argument, and kind of a little bit behind the scenes of why the schedule for KU would set up better if they were able to play Missouri each year, and how it could make sense for them, not only from a logistics standpoint, but just from a common sense standpoint with what they do and the games that they are scheduling in the non-conference year.
All right. Appreciate it, Jesse.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks to CJ, and thanks to you guys for checking out the Sports Beat KC podcast. Be sure to tune in for another episode next week.
SeatGeek is the easiest way to find the best deals on tickets to pretty much any live event. Concerts, sports, theater, comedy, whatever you want. Download the SeatGeek app today and enter promo code SEATS to save $20 on your first purchase.